morning and welcome to The Brief. Here's a look at your trending stories for this morning. The responsibility of those elected through the public mandate is to build the country, not walk on the streets, a statement from the President. Reports that China has declined debt equity transfer are false, a statement from the government. Individuals remanded over usage of state vehicles for the joint opposition march. The responsibility of politicians elected through the public mandate is rebuilding the nation, not walking on streets. These were the sentiments expressed by President Maithripala Sirisena in Polonnaruwa yesterday. The island-wide program to renovate 3,100 kilometers of rural roads commenced near the Veerapura village in Lanka Administrative Division in Polonnaruwa today. Under the Joint Road Development Program, a sum of 300 million rupees is being spent on the renovation of 170 kilometers of rural roads in the Polonnaruwa district.
As a government, we are carrying out this work amid many problems. The government is being blamed for economic hardships. There are various criticisms regarding taxes. You are aware that when we took over the government, the country was in debt to the tune of 9 trillion rupees to foreign nations. You can imagine how difficult it is even to write 9 trillion. If they were speaking of major development, major debt was concealed within that development, and we must free the people of this country from this burden. As such, in order to bring progress to the country, we must all work together. You cannot develop the country by walking on the street until you get blisters. There are ways by which to develop the country. As politicians, as the government, as political parties, we must understand what our policies are in order to develop the country. The country is widely accepted by world leaders and the United Nations because the two main political parties have come together and are taking the country forward. Some are not used to this.
The government has lashed out against a report in the Sunday Times that China had declined an offer for a debt equity transfer on Chinese loans for several projects, including the Matale Airport and the Hambantota Port.
The Sunday Times reported today that China has declined Sri Lanka's request to convert into equity Beijing-funded projects, including the Matale Airport and the Hambantota Port. The newspaper reported that China's ambassador Yi Shanlang had told Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe that it was not possible under China's laws and that it should be done through investors on commercial terms. It was further reported that the request had been made at a recent meeting of the Cabinet Committee on Economic Management, which was attended by the Chinese ambassador. However, issuing a press release this morning, the Department of Government Information disputed the report, claiming that the debt equity transfer on Chinese loans would be implemented in accordance with the discussions the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka held in Beijing with the President and Prime Minister of China in April this year. The statement issued by Director of Information A. Hilmi Mohammed reads that in accordance with the discussion, in the first instance, the Chinese government will promote Chinese firms interested in entering into private-public partnership with the Sri Lankan government in regard to specified projects. Furthermore, the Cabinet Committee on Economic Management had instructed Minister Malik Samarawikrama to discuss the required modalities with the Chinese ambassador and report back to the CCEM. The press release states that these discussions have been finalized and the report is to be submitted.
3 people, including the President of the SLFP Workers' Union of Airports and Aviation Services Limited M. Varanasiri Mohandiram, have been remanded until tomorrow over using 2 state vehicles for the Padayatra. The trio were remanded on the orders of the Varakapula magistrate.
A group of members of the Sri Lanka Nidahas Sevaka Sanghamaya at Airports and Aviation Services Limited had obtained 2 state-owned vehicles from the corporation, claiming to be organisers of the event. However, it later came to light that the event had been held to coincide with the joint opposition's Padayatra and that the 2 vehicles had been used for MPs from the joint opposition to garland a statue of the late Minister Dharmasiri Senanayaka. As a result, the police last night arrested the president of the SLFP Union and Airports and Aviation Services Limited, M. Varanasiri Mohandiram, and 2 drivers for the offence of misusing public property.
That's a wrap of the brief for today. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Arundhati Mudannayaka, reminding you to stay brief.